What's up everyone, Big Dan here, and in this video, we're going to be ranking every loyalty mission in Mass Effect 2 and constructing the ultimate tier list. Here's how I'm gonna approach the rankings. While I love most of the loyalty missions in this game, I want to avoid placing too many of them at the very top of the list. So I'm only allowing myself to place 4 of them on the S tier, 4 of them on the A tier, leaving the last 4 to go on the B tier. I also want to avoid taking into account how much I like particular characters. Separate the loyalty from the loyalty mission, if you will. Because otherwise, characters like Jacob would land at the bottom of the list automatically, even though their missions are quite interesting. So I'll be focusing on things like major story choices and interesting moral dilemmas to help me grade these properly. Now that all the fanfare and disclaimers are out of the way, let's dive right into the ultimate Mass Effect 2 loyalty mission tier list. We'll tackle these missions in the rough order in which they are unlocked, starting with Miranda. While I like Miranda as a character a lot, her loyalty mission is kinda bland in my eyes. We're tasked with rescuing and relocating her sister's family to shield her from their overbearing father. Along the way, Miranda gets betrayed by her childhood friend Niket, who ends up getting killed either by Miranda or an Eclipse gangster. The only choices we as a player get to make are whether we allow Miranda to kill Niket, and whether or not we encourage her to meet her sister at the end. The latter of which is a heartfelt moment, but not enough to really put this mission at the top of my list. I'm actually going to slot Miranda into the B tier because her family dynamics aren't quite interesting enough to carry the day. Jacob Taylor is one of the blandest major characters in the Mass Effect franchise, but his loyalty mission in Mass Effect 2 is actually kind of fire. Jacob receives a message from his father, who he believed was dead for the past 10 years. But we quickly discover that Ronald Taylor and his crew actually survived their ship crash and have been stranded on an uncharted world for the past decade. In the ensuing chaos, Jacob's father managed to prop himself up as a cult leader, preying on the women and executing or exiling any male opponents to his power. He was able to maintain control because the local food supply was neurologically toxic to humans, causing their mental capabilities to deteriorate. Ronald Taylor only radioed for help once the men revolted violently against his brutal leadership. The scenario is incredibly fascinating, and I love the reunion scene at the end. Rather than having a heartfelt moment, Jacob realizes his father has become a monster and is essentially still dead to him. The player has the choice to arrest Taylor, leave him to get killed by the rabid rebels, or give him a gun with only a handful of ammo. That last one is my favorite end to the quest.
I'm pretty sure we can spare the ammo.
Yeah, you're right. But I'm not taking the shot. My father owned his mistakes. He was a different man. A good man.
Half-charged. You've seen the crazy ones. This won't stop them.
It's not for them, Dad.
At the end of the day, the story arc of Jacob's loyalty mission lands it on the A tier for me. Mordin's loyalty mission in Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorite ones in the whole game. Not only does the player get a significant choice on what to do with Malin's data, which can have major ripple effects in Mass Effect 3, but we also get some of the best character development and cutscenes with Mordin, who's wrestling with the morality of his work on the Genophage modification project. Plus, there's a lot of funny moments thrown in, like the Renegade interrupt with a mouthy Krogan warlord.
Warlock Gold will rule all Krogan. The Krogan rebellions will become...
You talk too much.
See? The human cannot hit a simple target.
Or Shepard roasting a sick Krogan, which is even better if Tali is along for the ride.
You? I said a badass, not some scout whining like a Quarian with a tummy ache.
I'm standing right here.
I can do it.
Overall, Mordin's loyalty mission is an S-tier mission, and might even rank as my favorite one in the whole game. Jack's loyalty mission serves as one of the best exposés of Cerberus crimes that we'll uncover in Mass Effect 2, except for maybe the Overlord DLC. We're tasked with going to the Pragia facility where Jack was raised and tortured as Cerberus tried to turn her into a biotic god. The themes of the mission touch on how to move forward from past trauma. Jack is literally trying to blow up her past with a big-ass bomb. The best part of the mission is when Jack is confronted by Aresh at the end. Aresh was another captive of Cerberus who suffered greatly from their twisted experiments at creating master human biotics. But instead of becoming violent and nihilistic, Aresh rationalized what happened to him, thinking there must have been a good reason to put them through this training.
Everything we went through must have been worth something.
He ends up devoting his life to trying to reboot the facility, while Jack wants to blow the place to hell. These conversations are intense and moving, and show the different paths two people in similar circumstances can go down. Shepard will have the choice to encourage Jack to kill or spare Aresh at the very end before nuking the facility. And while the choice doesn't make a major impact on the overall story, it can significantly shape Jack's views on the world and her personal character development. I don't think there's quite enough space to put this on the S tier, but Jack's loyalty mission is a strong A tier for me. Garrus has one of my favorite loyalty missions in the game, which focuses on one of my favorite themes to grapple with: revenge. Is it justified? Can it set you free, or does it lead you down a dark road that doesn't solve anything? Garrus was betrayed by a squad mate in his band of mercs on Omega. The man in question, Sidonis, sold out his crew to a group of gangsters who executed the whole crew since they were meddling in organized crime on Omega. Garrus only survived by pure chance because he was away from their hideout when the attack occurred. To me, his loyalty mission is like an upgraded version of the Dr. Saleon mission in Mass Effect 1. Similarly, Garrus was trying to score some vigilante justice with Saleon, but his personal and emotional investment in the situation with Sidonis is so much greater. Saleon was carving up innocent people, but it wasn't people that Garrus knew personally. But Sidonis sold out and got his friends killed. It was a much more personal betrayal, which deeply affected Garrus.
I've always hated injustice. The thought that Sidonis could get away with this? Why should he go on living while 10 good men lie in unmarked graves? I'm sorry, Shepard. Words aren't going to solve this problem.
Garrus is borderline unhinged throughout the mission as you track leads on Sidonis, and Shepard can either encourage Garrus' thirst for retribution or try to convince him that revenge isn't worth it. In the end, we can either convince Garrus to spare Sidonis or let him shoot the man, who has now become a hollow husk of himself, racked by guilt over what he did. It's a powerful end to one of the best quests in the game. So Garrus' loyalty mission lands on a strong S tier for me. Next up, we have Grunt. I love Grunt as a character, but his loyalty mission isn't the strongest one we play in Mass Effect 2. It's fun to help Grunt achieve his rite of passage and become inducted into Clan Urdnot, but there are no major choices or moral dilemmas to grapple with. The character development for Grunt goes the same regardless of player input, and you basically just shoot a bunch of enemies, including a Thresher Maw. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun mission, but it just doesn't stack up to great missions like Garrus and Mordin. So for those reasons, Grunt's loyalty mission goes on the B tier with Miranda. Zaeed's loyalty mission provides a much different spin on revenge when compared to Garrus. Zaeed proves that revenge can be incredibly satisfying no matter the cost. Sacrifice a factory full of workers to a fiery blaze? Get rewarded with a badass ending.
Try, you son of a bitch.
Zaeed is fueled by pure, unbridled rage, and I'm honestly here for it. Homeboy was so mad about Vito's betrayal that he even survived a gunshot to the head.
Rage is a hell of an anesthetic.
The Paragon route of saving the factory workers is also really satisfying. I always burst out laughing when Zaeed does this. In this path, we teach Zaeed that being part of a crew means working together, and that friendship is more meaningful than revenge. But also, Zaeed will end up killing Vito before Mass Effect 3 anyway, so I don't know if that lesson actually stuck.
What else were you up to before the war?
I had Vito to hunt down after he got away from his son Zoya. Cost me nearly everything I'd made to track him down, but I did it. Found him on a sun's base inside a colony. Hired some men, stormed the place. Blew up the shuttle port first this time.
While Zaeed's loyalty mission isn't the best one in Mass Effect 2, it provides a level of pure joy and fun for me that it goes on the S tier as well. Kasumi's loyalty mission is the other DLC mission of Mass Effect 2, and it involves a fun heist against a scuffed Elon Musk meets Nicolas Cage from Lord of War / Dragon Age 2 reference. Donovan Hawk has one of the most hilariously bad accents in the series.
Don't think our guests would come all the way here from Ilium just to cause trouble.
The major choice in this quest involves what to do with Keiji's Grey Box, a digital recording of her dead lover's memories. You can either convince Kasumi to delete the data or keep it for herself. If she keeps it, she continues to plug into the Matrix, so to speak, reliving her life with Keiji and not moving on with her own. On the other hand, destroying the Grey Box is emotionally painful for her, but allows her some measure of closure. Interestingly, in the synthesis ending of ME3, Kasumi can be reunited with Keiji once again, or at least an AI version of him. But I don't know, this ending is a little weird for me. But I digress. Kasumi's loyalty mission is a solid A-tier mission for me. Not the best one in the game, but the moral dilemma of what to do with the Grey Box is really interesting, and the mission is fun from a combat and gameplay perspective as well. Alrighty, so here's the deal with Thane's loyalty mission. I really like Thane, and I like the story of him trying to keep his son away from that assassin life, and I like the interrogation scene. It's one of my favorites. But let's be honest, this is a glorified walking simulator of a mission, and we don't get any major choices that impact the story arc of the quest, unless we somehow manage to screw up the walking part.
Entropy wins. Entropy always wins.
From a concept and story mode, and memorable moments perspective, I would rank this mission relatively high, but given the constraints of this list, I gotta put Thane on the B tier, unfortunately. Same thing goes for Samara. Now, I do love the story arc behind the Ardat Yakshis and us laying a trap for Morinth, and having the choice to either side with Samara or Morinth at the end, but compared to the other missions in Mass Effect 2, Samara's loyalty mission falls a bit flat for me. I initially wanted to swap this one with Kasumi's mission because we can betray Samara, which is a really interesting twist. But there really is no good reason to side with Morinth here, even for renegades. She's a complete, unhinged psychopath. Plus, her story doesn't even really continue in Mass Effect 3, aside from a couple of emails and a Banshee encounter on Earth. So ultimately, Samara's loyalty mission lands on the B tier for me. I'd like to rank it a bit higher, but I'm not gonna. Tali is best girl, but is she best loyalty mission? Yeah, kind of. Her loyalty mission is really compelling, has a lot of variations, including interesting unique dialogue if you bring Legion along for the ride, and it has significant consequences for Mass Effect 3. Tali is put on trial for treason after her father's ship is overrun by reactivated Geth. The accusation is that Tali assisted in illegal research into the Geth by sending active Geth units to the Quarian migrant fleet, jeopardizing the lives and security of all Quarians. The reality is, her father conducted this research without Tali's knowledge, in the hopes that they could gain an edge against the Geth and retake the Quarian homeworld. Tali is heartbroken by this news, as well as the discovery that her father died on the ship, and she begs Shepard to conceal the truth from the Quarians. Tali can either be acquitted of all charges by a rousing speech, she can be exiled if you submit no defense, or you can lose her loyalty by exposing her father's crimes. Each of these potential outcomes will have an impact on the Geth-Quarian story arc in Mass Effect 3. So with all this in mind, it's clear to me that Tali's loyalty mission lands on the S tier. Legion's loyalty mission is also incredibly compelling, but it doesn't rank quite as high as Tali's does in my book. Legion asks us to help him neutralize a group of Geth heretics who deviated from the Geth consensus and ended up worshipping the Reapers. At the end of the mission, we can choose to either rewrite the Geth heretics or destroy them, a decision which will impact our chances at scoring peace between the Geth and Quarians in Mass Effect 3. Realistically, I should put this mission in the S tier instead of Zaeed's, but given the constraints of my list, it's going on the A tier instead. It is what it is. I don't make the rules, I just follow them. Wait a minute, I did make the rules here. So there you have it. The ultimate Mass Effect 2 loyalty mission tier list. So what do you think of my rankings on this list? Are there any missions you'd rank higher or lower? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more Mass Effect and RPG videos. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.